Hello students of class 6, this is social science and today we are going to begin with a new chapter, that is chapter 8, Harshavardhana and his times, page number 48. Harshavardhana and his times, chapter 8, page number 48. So this is Harshavardhana and he became a ruler at AD 606. At that time, he was just 16 or 17 years old. That was very young, right? So he became a ruler at a very young age. All right. So have a look. This is Harshavardhana. He was a ruler from 606 AD to 647 AD. Now here in this lesson, you are going to learn about Harsha's accession, Harsha's military campaign, Harsha, a great patron and scholar of learning, Harsha, a follower of Buddhism, Huensang's account, Harsha's administration, society and life of people, Harsha's assemblies, and Nalanda University. So here you see a map of India, right? So the pink color area, these were the areas that was conquered by Harshavardhana when he was a ruler. All right. Now these areas was under Harsha. Remember, he was a ruler, right? So these areas belongs to him. So he used to control over these areas, okay? So in the south were the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. However, most of the northern part of India was under Harshavardhana, okay? So starting with Harsha's accession. So I told you that he became a ruler at a very young age of 16 to 17. And when he became a ruler, he was very powerful and he was very intelligent, okay? That is why he was able to rule over such a big area. So that time there was this Gupta dynasty, okay? And this Gupta dynasty was becoming weak. So this Harsha, the ruler, he tried to capture the kingdoms that was under the Gupta dynasty, and since it was a weak kingdom that time, he was able to capture them easily. All right. Now earlier there was a capital of Harsha. The area that he was controlling, there was a capital known as Thansar, okay? But later on, when he captured more lands, he shifted his capital from Thansar to Kannauj, all right? So Thansar was also a capital, and later on, another capital was added, that was Kannauj, all right? Okay, now look here, Harsha's military campaign. So he had to face ancestral enemies. When Harsha became a king, he had to face the enemies from the Gupta kingdom, all right? And those were the ancestral enemies. That means this Gupta dynasty was the enemies of his grandparents, all right? Now, second one, he first ascended Thansar and marched to Kannauj. I already told you that he shifted his capital from Thansar to Kannauj, right? Then next he defeated Shashank, who was the ruler of Bengal that time. All right. Now Shashank was also one of the weak rulers, so he was easily able to defeat him. And then he conquered Punjab and defeated the rulers, and these rulers used to pay him tribute. Also, Chalukyas and Pallavas were a very strong kingdom that time, all right? However, there are no such accounts of Harsha being enemy with this Chalukyas and the Pallavas, all right? Now, Harsha had occupied the kingdoms, right? And there were certain kings who came under his control. Now, these kings had to pay tribute to Harsha. So, how they did that? They have given him some gifts, okay? So, here during the wars, they had to give Harsha their army, or they have to give some financial support. All right, so this was how they gave tribute to Harsha. Now in the last you see Chalukyas and Pallavas, right? So during that time, Harsha was controlling major of the northern areas, and the southern part of India was controlled by the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. So according to the records, we don't see any enmity between the Chalukyas and the Pallavas with Harsha. Okay, so it was only in the later part we saw that the Chalukyas and the Pallavas, they became a stronger power, and that was only after the end of the Harshavardhana times. Now here you see this man, right? He is Banabhata, okay, and he has written Harsha-charita. Now this Harsha-charita is a book, and here in this book it is a story about Harshavardhana. All right, now we get to know about Harsha through this book. How? Because here he wrote that Harsha was a great king. He was very humble, he was very noble to his people, and he was also a great scholar. Okay, now regarding this great scholar, I'm going to explain to you in the last part, that is about Nalanda University. So it is said that since Harsha was also a great scholar, he gave more interest in literature. So he decided to set up this Nalanda University by giving support, which later part this university became a universal university. Okay, so many people from different parts of the world also came to study in this university. Now here Harsha, a follower of Buddhism. What you see here is a Gautama Buddha, right? And Buddhism started from him, and these are the Buddhist monks. Okay, now Harsha, it is said that first he was a follower of Lord Shiva. That means he was also a Hindu, and he believed in Hindu gods. But later on he converted to Buddhism. He started following the teachings of Gautama Buddha, and he also lived a life of these people. Okay, that means he became a strong follower of Buddhism, and he also set up festivals for this religion. Now let's learn about Huinsang. Okay, so Huinsang, he was a Chinese Buddhist scholar. He came all the way from China during 630 AD, and he lived for 15 years in India. Okay, that was in the area of Harsha, and he spent 8 years in Harsha's court. And when he spent these 8 years, he learned and he wrote about the political, social, economic and cultural conditions of Harsha's dynasty in his book Siyuki. Okay, so this Huinsang, he was a Chinese pilgrim. He traveled all the way from China, and he came and settled in Harsha's court. He spent 8 months there, 8 years. Okay, so altogether he spent 15 years. During these 15 years of time, he observed Harshavardhana, and he wrote about him in the book. Okay, so he wrote about the political, social and economic matters. He wrote about how Harsha was as a king, what he did in the society, also how he ruled his military in a society. Okay, and all these records were found in Siyuki, that was written by Huinsang, the Chinese Buddhist scholar. Now coming to Harsha's administration. All right, so first we have districts and villages. Now Harsha, as a ruler, his empire was very big, right? His kingdom was spread in the entire north of India, and to look after this area, it was not easy for him. So what he did, he divided them into provinces. Now these provinces, also known as districts, okay, they were again divided into villages, all right. Now only then it was possible for him to rule over his entire kingdom. So here in these districts and villages, he has appointed certain people like the ministers, the noblemen, or the people who can look after the land and by indulging in different works, right? So then he got the proper informations about his districts and villages through these sources, through these people, okay? Or else it was not easy to look after this entire land. See, we in Nagaland, we are also a state, right? Now, comparing our state to the kingdom of Harsha, it was very small, right? We have a very small area, but still our area is divided into districts and villages, right? So the same thing, Harsha also applied these divisions of district and villages, and he ruled over these places in a proper way, all right. Next is tax. Now Harsha's people, the people living in his kingdom, they paid taxes, and he made sure that even the merchants, the artisans, they also paid taxes. So what he did with these taxes was that he used this money to maintain his military, because it is written in the records that Harsha had 1 lakh cavalry, okay. He had 1 lakh armies to go for a war. He was always prepared for the war, right? Also he had about 1,000 elephants, okay. So to maintain such a huge army, it was a big military, so he needed a lot of money and food. So he used these taxes in order to look after his military, all right. So what you see here behind me are the military, also about the society, about the districts and villages, and the tax, okay. Now Harsha's society and life of the people. So according to the written works of Huizang, the Chinese pilgrim, and Banabhata, we get to know that during the times of Harsha, his people were very humble, they were very simple, they used to eat vegetarian food, and also his people used to maintain cleanliness in his villages, all right. So it shows that his villages were very clean, and there were also teachers who used to teach their students, okay. And then people wear very simple clothes, and they were very hospitable. Also Harshavardhana, as a king, he used to visit these areas, and he used to keep a good relationship with his people. And also we can see that during Harshavardhana, there was caste system, okay. The society was divided into 4 different classes, where people of higher class were appointed for temple works. Some used to do work as a trader, as a merchant, as an artisan. Some of them were teachers, all right. Some of them were doing all the cleaning jobs in the society, all right. So they had a division. Also we read that during Harsha's time there was no child marriages, but sati system was practiced. That means when a woman's husband died, she should sacrifice herself, all right, and she should also die along with her husband. So that was practiced during Harsha's time. Or else, apart from this social evil, we see that Harsha's kingdom was very peaceful, and people used to involve in their duty, and they used to focus on their work, and they don't create any disturbances in the kingdom, okay. Now about Harsha's assemblies. I told you that Harsha was a follower of Shiva, that is a Hindu god, but he transformed into Buddhism, okay. He changed his religion to Buddhism. Also he decided to organize a religious festival after every 5 years known as Prayag, And finally, Harsha died in 647 CE, and later on, after his death, Chalukyas and Pallavas became the strongest regions. Okay, now coming to the last one, that is Nalanda University. I told you that Nalanda University was a university where Harsha has given most of the financial support, right? So Huinsang, in his book Siyuki, he also wrote about this Nalanda University. Okay, so in order to make this university, they have cleared many villages, and finally this six-story university was made. All right, now here there was about 100 or 10,000 monks. Okay, so there was 10,000 monks who was studying in this Nalanda University, and there was 1,510 professors. That means they were teachers who were teaching these monks. Okay, and also in this university they were able to get many subjects, not only science, medicine, but also philosophy, metaphysics, astronomy, etc. All right, and then Sanskrit was the medium of education. That means the Sanskrit language was used in the education. Later on, this university became so popular internationally that many people came for admission, but it was so unfortunate for many of them that most of them, they could not get admitted to this university. And Huinsang, the Chinese pilgrim, he was also one of the um, person who studied from this university. Okay, so my dear students, we have come to the end of this chapter. Today we have learned about Harshavardhana, his people, about how he was as a ruler, and also about the Nalanda University, right? So in the next class, I will see you with another topic. Thank you.